So hello and welcome to the Federation Conversation Live. My name is Dania Davey and I serve as the Director of Land Retention and Advocacy here at the Federation of Southern Cooperatives Land Assistance Fund. So I'm going to need someone to give me a thumbs up once y'all can see this PowerPoint presentation that I'm sharing with you.
We can see it.
Okay, thank you, Sade. So this episode of the Federation Conversation Live is going to be an update on the implementation of Section 22007 of the Inflation Reduction Act, financial assistance for producers who've experienced discrimination. For those of you who are new to the Federation, which if you receive this email, you should be a member or at least a supporter of the Federation. But as a quick overview, Federation of Southern Cooperatives Land Assistance Fund was founded in 1967 by 22 cooperatively owned businesses as a nonprofit association of cooperatives. Our membership consists primarily of Black farmers, landowners, and cooperatives. We provide services to our members in the communities that we're in, including cooperative development, which feeds into our regional marketing system. Our agroforestry work is conducted at our Regional Rural Training and Research Center. And then our Regional Heirs Property and Mediation Center is where our land retention and advocacy work is housed. The mission of the Federation is to be a catalyst for the development of a self-supporting community through cooperative economic development, land retention, and advocacy. We are chartered in Washington, D.C. to serve 16 states and Washington, D.C., and you'll see them listed there. Despite being chartered in all of those states, we are primarily working and have offices in Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, South Carolina, and Texas. Before we get started with the rollout of the Section 22007 of the Inflation Reduction Act financial assistance for producers who've experienced discrimination, I just want to give a really quick overview. There are a lot more details that would need to be covered for an actual overview of the USDA's civil rights, legal, and institutional history. But I just wanted to highlight a couple of important landmarks throughout time that kind of brought us to where we are today. So back in 1990, the Federation and others advocated to have rights and privileges created within the Farm Bill for Black farmers through Farm Bill negotiations that resulted in the socially disadvantaged farmer and rancher definition being included in the 1990 Farm Bill, as well as the 2501 technical assistance and outreach program for socially disadvantaged farmers and ranchers. Right around the time of that Farm Bill change, there were several lawsuits that were filed against USDA for discrimination in access to credit. Pigford was filed on behalf of Black farmers. Keepseagle was filed on behalf of Native American farmers. Garcia was filed on behalf of Latinx farmers, and Love was filed on behalf of women farmers. In 2018, the Farm Bill adopted the definition of heirs property and allowed for states that have adopted the Uniform Partition of Heirs Property Act to provide certain programs, one of which is the Heir Property Relending Program, and the other is that heirs property landowners can now apply for and receive a farm number if they're in a state where the UPHPA has been passed. Most recently, litigation-wise, was the litigation that was challenging Section 1005 of the American Rescue Plan Act. That was debt relief for farmers and ranchers of color, emergency debt relief for farmers and ranchers of color in response to the the disparate rates at which white farmers received the vast majority, almost to the exclusion of farmers and ranchers of color, the COVID benefits and farm subsidies. However, that ARPA litigation filed back in March of 2022 really was showing us a preview of what we saw the Supreme Court rule on last Thursday. But basically, racial equity, affirmative action, civil rights, socially disadvantaged farmers and ranchers as a term, that entire framework of civil rights and racial equity litigation is squarely under attack. And so where we are today is that we have the Inflation Reduction Act, and this morning the Secretary of Ag announced this new discrimination financial assistance program, which is authorized under Section 22007 of the Inflation Reduction Act. So the Inflation Reduction Act has financial assistance available. And we're going to just start out by laying out that this is a financial assistance program and not a lawsuit or lawsuit settlement. Wanted to jump right into explaining that because we don't want folks, especially folks who are familiar with the Pigford lawsuit and the In-Ray Black Farmers settlement, and think that it is the same claims form process. This is not a claims process. There are not the same due process rights as you would have in a lawsuit. So two things that make this different than a lawsuit or a lawsuit settlement is that these are not claim forms, they're application forms. And in this financial assistance program, there is no right to an appeal. The program is going to be implemented in accordance with the law, and it's going to be primarily implemented by administrators. The national administrator of the program is the Midtown Group. That is the final decision maker on the applications. They're also going to be an Eastern Hub, the Windsor Group, and a Western Hub analytic acquisitions that will be providing brick and mortar spaces where potential applicants can go in and have questions answered, receive paper versions of the application form, and there will be application assistance available through those offices as well. But ultimately, the final decisions being made on applications submitted under the Inflation Reduction Act 22007, those decisions will be made by the Midtown Group. Expected timeline has changed slightly based on what has developed. We were told before that the application was going to be available starting in June, and here we are in July. But we do know now that the application as of today is available, and the applications can begin to be submitted today. Between now and September, we're going to continue, the Federation is going to continue to host onboarding and training for other community-based organizations and partners who want to assist applicants for this discrimination financial assistance program. We're also going to be providing outreach and technical assistance for applicants who seek to apply for the discrimination financial assistance program. October 31st, 2023 is the application submission period's closing date. So that is the latest date that by which you can submit an application either online or in a hard copy paper format, October 31st. That is the date you want to circle on your calendar. You want to remember that there will be no review of applications received after October 31st of this year. And then from November to early 2024, those applications will be reviewed, the decisions will be made, and then financial assistance that is awarded will be distributed via US mail by early 2024. So who is eligible for financial assistance under this discrimination financial assistance program? Well, to be eligible for discrimination financial assistance, you must be a farmer, rancher, or forest landowner. And you have to have experienced discrimination in a certain type of USDA program. So not all USDA programs are covered and included. To be eligible for the discrimination financial assistance, you must have experienced discrimination by Farm Service Agency or the former Farmers Home Administration. And that discrimination must have been in a farm loan program. So we're not talking about conservation programs. It specifically has to be discrimination that you experienced in a farm loan program through Farm Service Agency or the former Farmers Home Administration. And that discrimination does have a time frame during which it had to have occurred. So this discrimination endpoint to be eligible for the discrimination financial assistance, that discrimination must have occurred before January 1st, 2021. Just wanted to really highlight that point because any discrimination happening before that date would be eligible. So that includes folks who would have been eligible under Pigford because that discrimination occurred well before January 1st, 2021. So the period of time during which that discrimination must have occurred was any time before January 1st, 2021. So if your only experience of discrimination in Farm Service Agency farm loan program occurred in 2022, you would not be eligible for financial assistance under this program. There is one final category of eligibility, and that language could be a little confusing, so I wanted to read it out to you all and then explain what that means. But the final category of eligibility are people with current USDA Farm Service Agency debt with assigned or assumed USDA farm loan debt that was the subject of USDA discrimination that occurred prior to January 1st, 2021. So a hypothetical scenario, this is not the only scenario, this is not what you would have to prove to be considered eligible under this category. But one example scenario would be that your father was farming in 1990. He experienced discrimination either at the application or during the servicing of that loan. You wanted to farm after your father and you went ahead and assumed his USDA farm loan debt, and you are currently the person that is responsible for paying that USDA Farm Service Agency debt. In that situation where the discrimination happened prior to January 1st, 2021, and you assumed the former debt holder's USDA farm loan debt, and you're currently the person responsible for paying that farm loan off, you would be eligible to apply under this program. But this is not a program in the way that Pigford allowed for folks to file for discrimination occurring during the time frame that Pigford was considering, and it allowed folks to file on behalf of an estate, whether or not they were actually involved in the farming or continued to farm after their ancestor left farming. This is not that same type of criteria. This is very specific to the individual that assumes and currently holds that debt. I want to make that very, very clear because I know there have been a lot of questions about filing on behalf of another person or filing on behalf of an estate. And so there's going to be this narrow exception for folks who assumed or had that debt assigned to them. And that's going to be the limited way in which you can file on behalf of an estate. application assistance. So we have heard many, many reports throughout the region that folks have been told that there have been advanced applications available. And I heard a story about someone in Mississippi a few weeks ago who paid $1,000 to a person that had identified themselves as someone who could assist with applying for the Discrimination Financial Assistance Program. We want to make sure you and everyone that you know knows that there is no fee to apply or to receive assistance to apply for the Discrimination Financial Assistance Program. So that means that if you go to sit down to speak with someone and you ask them up front, how much is it going to cost me to apply for this Discrimination Financial Assistance Program? And they tell you, well, I'll charge you $25 or $250 or $50 or $2,500. You should know that that person is charging a fee that is not required. In other words, this is not an application that requires you to pay $25 like you would for a college application or some other application where you pay to just submit that application. There is no fee associated with applying or receiving help from anyone to apply for discrimination financial assistance. So where can you get this no-cost application assistance? Well, there's several trained and trusted community-based organizations that can answer your questions and or help you or direct you to folks who can help you apply. And this is all at no fee. Of course, the Federation of Southern Cooperatives Land Assistance Fund will be one of those community-based organizations that is working as a cooperator with USDA and the administrators to make sure that folks get accurate information and assistance with their application at no cost to the applicant themselves. In addition to the Federation, Agribility, Farmer Veteran Coalition, Farmers Legal Action Group or FLAG, Intertribal Ag Council, the Land Loss Prevention Project, National Young Farmers Coalition, and Rural Coalition. And each of these groups may have other organizations that they trust and that they're working with to help with their outreach and technical assistance that they're providing. But these are the only cooperators that have received special information, special training in advance of the rollout of this application. And you really want to rely on information that you receive from these folks. You can rely rather on information that you receive from these folks because they really know this program as well as it can be known at this point. Sources of information for getting application assistance. There will be discrimination financial assistance updates provided on our website, www.federation.coop/advocacy. So that's www.federation.coop/advocacy, or you can email us at 22007 D as in dog, F as in Frank, A as in Apple, P as in Paul at federation.coop. And I'll go through the phone numbers of our offices at the end of the presentation, but we have created an email account specifically for folks that are seeking assistance or information while applying for the Discrimination Financial Assistance Program. There will also be updates available on USDA's website, and you can actually visit that website right now, and you'll see that a lot of information has been updated, including the application is available online today. So I wanted to spend the bulk of the time that we have together this afternoon looking at some frequently asked questions that we've already received here at the Federation. And then we're going to open it up to questions that are either in the chat box or I'll recognize folks as they raise their hands. So these are the main questions that we've received and the answers that we have prepared for those questions. So this is a question that we continuously receive. We receive this question from lots of different folks trying to make sure that they have the most updated information. So the question is there a new Black farmer discrimination lawsuit? The answer is no. So there is no Pigford 3. There is no new Black farmer discrimination lawsuit. This is not a discrimination lawsuit process or discrimination lawsuit settlement. This is completely a discrimination financial assistance program. So there is no new Black farmer discrimination lawsuit, despite the fact that there are folks who are sending out mailers, letters in the mail, postcards, and posting on social media. There is no new Black farmer discrimination lawsuit. Another big question is, what's the maximum financial assistance available to an individual farmer, rancher, or forest landowner who experienced discrimination in USDA loan programs? According to the Inflation Reduction Act, the maximum amount of financial assistance any one individual can receive is $500,000. Looks like a really big number, especially for those of you who are around during the Pigford lawsuit settlement. That $500,000 looks very exciting. Unfortunately, we do want to point out that the individual will likely receive much less than $500,000. And the reason is this program, to avoid constitutional scrutiny and to survive the constitutionality question that has been posed to other programs that use discrimination based on race as a way to distribute resources or give folks access to programs, that has made this program inclusive of many, many categories of discrimination. And so by opening up the categories of discrimination beyond race and ethnicity to be inclusive of many other categories of discrimination, you can imagine that there will likely be tens of thousands of people who are applying for this $2.2 billion of financial assistance. And as you can imagine, as the number of applicants eligible for discrimination financial assistance increases, that $2.2 billion doesn't increase, that remains the same. So as you increase the number of eligible applicants, you can see how very quickly that $500,000 number can become much, much less per each individual. I experienced discrimination in conservation programs. Am I eligible? So another question is regarding other programs outside of Farm Service Agency farm loan programs. And the answer to that question is no. Only discrimination by Farm Service Agency and farm loan programs is eligible. So if you experience discrimination in another of USDA's programs, such as the conservation programs, discrimination in those programs under USDA outside of the farm loan programs at Farm Service Agency are not eligible for discrimination financial assistance under this program. I experienced discrimination in my guaranteed loan. Am I eligible? So you see the girl is frustrated because this is one where it's going to be maybe, maybe not. It depends. It really comes down to the facts of your experience. So exactly who was it when you secured your guaranteed loan that was discriminating against you? So if you experienced discrimination by Farm Service Agency in your loan application or servicing, you would be eligible for discrimination financial assistance under this program. However, if you experience discrimination by the non-FSA lender, then no, you would not be eligible for this discrimination financial assistance program. So the local bank, the local credit union that made your guaranteed loan, the discrimination occurred in that office or with the lender that was the non-FSA lender, that discrimination would not make you eligible for financial assistance under this program. But if on the FSA side, on the FSA part of your loan or loan servicing, you experience discrimination by someone working at Farm Service Agency, then yes, you would be eligible for financial assistance under this program. So that's going to be a situation that if you're not sure whether or not you're eligible, that's a time when it's a good idea to reach out to someone at the Federation or one of the other cooperators to talk through the specific facts of your experience to help you evaluate whether or not you would be eligible for financial assistance. But long story short, if your experience of discrimination was on the FSA side of your guaranteed loan, then yes, you would be eligible for discrimination financial assistance. But if it was not on the FSA side of your loan, then no, you would not be eligible for discrimination financial assistance. Big question we've been all waiting for a really long time. Is the application available now? Yes, it is available. It is up and ready for anyone who has internet access. You can access that application online at www.22007apply.gov. So www.22007apply.gov. There is a portal. We will have a separate training on accessing the online version of the application and a separate training going through the application in depth. We're not going to have enough time to cover logging in and setting up an account and starting the application on this call, but just know that that application is already available online. You can also print copies of that application, and paper copies are being made available as we speak. There are going to be paper copies available at either of the hubs that I identified. The Federation and other cooperators are receiving copies of that application. So you might be able to go into your local Federation office and get that application in a hard copy form. That application has not yet been mailed to the Federation local offices. So I don't want you all to get off of this call and run over to the training center to get your application. If you're in Alabama, the application is not yet there, but it is available online. And so you can go online and we will be having another training at a later date about setting up your account profile and going through the application form in a lot more detail. But I just want you to know that if you do want to go and take a look and check it out, it is available already online. This question comes up so frequently that we thought that it was worth repeating. Is there a fee for application assistance? No. So to ask someone to help you fill out an application, you do not have to pay for that service unless you don't ask and that person happens to be one of those folks who's charging fees. So I would absolutely suggest that before you sit down with anyone who offers to help you apply, before they put pen to paper or you put pen to paper with their assistants, ask them, are you going to charge me a fee to help me fill out this application? And that'll be a good way for you to weed out whether or not this person is up to date on how many other ways there are to apply for no cost, because we really want to make sure that our members and the communities that we serve are aware that there is no cost to get help to fill out your application. Is there a fee to apply for financial assistance? Again, that answer is no. You don't have to submit a $25 money order or check to submit your application. There is no fee, no charge, no cost to apply or to submit your application for discrimination financial assistance. Can Pigford claimants apply for financial assistance? Yes. Pigford, Keepsiegel, Garcia, Love, In-Ray Black Farmers, any other lawsuit claims settlement process is separate from this discrimination financial assistance program. So if you were a Pigford claimant, whether or not you were successful, if you had discrimination that happened before or after the period contemplated by the lawsuit settlement, whether or not you were successful in applying for a class settlement under any of the class discrimination settlements or any that were not certified, but ended up getting rolled into the Keepsiegel, Garcia, Love, In-Ray Black Farmers settlement process that was about 10 years ago. Yes, you are eligible as long as your discrimination with Farm Service Agency farm loan programs occurred before January 1st, 2021, you are eligible to apply for discrimination financial assistance. Do I have to hire an attorney to apply? This is a very common question that we've been getting as soon as there were rumors going around about this program getting rolled out. We've gotten hundreds of calls about whether or not someone has to hire an attorney. So the answer to that question is no. No, you do not have to hire an attorney. You have every right to choose to hire an attorney. You may work with an attorney. We're not discouraging you from hiring an attorney, but we want to make it clear that you do not have to work with an attorney to apply for discrimination financial assistance. But we also wanted to point out that if you choose to work with an attorney, which is your right, you have every right to make the choice that's best for you. If you make the choice to work with an attorney and you sign an agreement or any contract or a retainer agreement, if you sign an agreement with an attorney to provide services as you apply for the discrimination financial assistance program, you will have to pay the attorney. USDA, the administrators, the cooperators will not be paying those attorneys' fees. Those will not be paid for out of the discrimination financial assistance program. But if you select an attorney that you want to work with to help you apply for discrimination financial assistance, you will have to find the resources to pay that attorney. You may pay it directly out of your financial assistance or out of your other resources or cash that you have available to you. But we just want to remind you that you don't have to have an attorney, but if you do decide that you want to go the route of hiring an attorney, you will have to pay the attorney. None of the discrimination financial assistance program proceeds are being set aside specifically for your attorney's fees if you decide to go that route. Can I apply for financial assistance on behalf of an estate? Kind of covered this earlier, but it's worth repeating. It's going to depend. If you are a surviving heir that assumed or the debt was assigned to you. So if you're a surviving heir that assumed the Farm Service Agency debt of the decedent, then yes, you would be eligible. If you're currently the person that's responsible for paying that financial debt to Farm Service Agency, and the person that originally received the loan experienced discrimination prior to January 1st, 2021, then you would be eligible. Outside of that narrow exception, no, you will not be able to file on behalf of an estate more broadly than unless you assumed their FSA debt. What is the application deadline? wanted to make this one really clear, pulled this language directly from the USDA website because I wanted to give you all the most accurate information that's available. So the absolute deadline for the application is October 31st, 2023. As I mentioned, you can use the option of submitting your application in person at one of the regional offices for one of the hubs, but that application must be submitted by 8 p.m. the local time of that office on October 31st, 2023. So if you've decided that you don't want to submit the application online and you decide you want to physically carry it into one of the regional hubs offices, that application has to make it into that office by 8 p.m. of that office's local time by October 31st of this year, 2023. Applications that are submitted online have to be submitted. You have to press send or whatever the button is going to say. You have to submit that online application by 11:59 p.m. PDT on October 31st. So that's Pacific time on October 31st, 2023. Regardless of whether you submit your application in person or online, the deadline is October 31st, 2023. This is a big one that we often get questions about, and it's also a part of what's been churning out there in the rumor mill. So a lot of folks have said, you know, this money is going to run out if you don't get your application. You want to be the first person to get your application in before the money runs out. You've probably heard that or something along those lines. But do I need to apply early to be successful? No, the program is not first come, first served. So there is no advantage that you'll have by applying early because all of the applications will be reviewed and decided on at the same time. So applying early is not going to give you an advantage in terms of being more successful or that the resources are going to run out before the deadline. The resources are going to be distributed at the same time because the applications are going to be reviewed and decided on at the same time. So the best time for you to submit your application is before the deadline, but only once you have all the details to submit a complete application. And what I mean by that is you might want to log in today or over the weekend and just see what the questions are. And as you look through it, you're going to see it's going to ask you for some very specific information. It's going to ask you to describe what you would have done with the loan funds had you not experienced discrimination. It's going to ask you things like, does anyone in your family or community know about these plans that you had? They're going to try to verify your story and make sure that the things that you're saying actually check out and would be examples of discrimination. So you want to make sure you have your story and all the documents. If you have paperwork related to that loan application, you want to basically get all your materials together. And only once you know you can complete the application and fill in all the answers to all the questions that are asked, that is the best time to sit down and fill out your application. So I'm not encouraging you to wait until the last minute, but what I am saying is that if you wait until October 30th of this year to submit your application, you're not going to receive less financial assistance automatically because you were someone who submitted your application just before the deadline. There's no advantage to getting your application in early. The only advantage is making sure your application is complete and fully tells your story of discrimination. Who will make the decision about your application? The National Administrator Midtown Group will make final decisions on applications. Want to make it really clear that USDA and cooperators will not make any decisions on the applications. So you might come into a Federation event where we're helping folks fill out their applications, And you might want someone at the Federation to tell you, you know, what do you think my chances are to get this money, or how much financial assistance do you think that I'm going to be eligible for? That person's guess is as good as your guess, because no one besides those folks working at or with the Midtown Group, the national administrator, will be making those final application decisions. And just want to make that really, really clear that no individual, Dania Davey, Director of Land Retention and Advocacy at the Federation, cannot push your application forward or get you additional financial assistance. Want to really make that clear that all of the cooperators are here to assist you as you complete your application, but we will not be able to advocate for you or make any changes for you. All of those decisions will be made by the Midtown Group. If my application is denied, can I reapply or appeal? No. And the explanation for that is all of the applications will be reviewed and decided upon at the same time. So you would not know that you're denied until all of the decisions are being made. There's not going to be any extension of this program to allow for appeals. You have one opportunity to have your application reviewed. I'd want to add, not to confuse anyone, but say you go in and you submit your application today because you're very eager to get it submitted, and then you have some time to reflect and think about it, and maybe next month you realize, oh my goodness, I completely forgot to tell about what happened in 1996. Well, you can submit a completely new application. You're going to have to start over from the beginning and submit a brand new application, but only one application will ultimately be reviewed. The latest in time that you submit will be your application that is decided on. So it's really important not to take it lightly, how important it is to have a complete and accurate application. There's no benefit to rush the process and try to get your application in the door earlier, because you're not going to get a chance to reapply once the denials are made. That those denials will be final and there's no opportunity for appeal. There may be occasions where you're contacted by one of the hubs or someone who is assisting you with providing you technical assistance and told that you need to add information to your application. That's a different situation. But by the time you get your denial letters, that's when everyone else will be receiving their financial assistance letters. So it's really, really important not to have a sloppy or rushed or not fully thought out application that you submit just to get something through the door. It's really in your best interest to make sure that the application you submit is the one that you want reviewed, because you will not be able to appeal the Midtown Group's final decision on your application. Before going to your questions and giving answers to those questions, wanted to remind you all of the fraud alert. If you are told by phone, email, mail, or social media that you can sign up for the Black Farmer lawsuit, I know there's a link that's on Facebook that if you click the link, it'll take you through a series of questions to tell you whether or not you would be a part of the Black Farmer lawsuit. There's also folks who are saying you have to pay to receive application assistance, or if you're told that you have to pay a small fee just to apply for Inflation Reduction Act 22007 financial assistance. That is all incorrect. We want you to reach out to the Federation and let us know. We are conducting, or I should say, we are collecting names and letters and postcards and Facebook links. We're trying to keep a record of all of the known fraudulent activities that are taking place, so that when folks call in, we can advise them. The Inspector General will be the entity that's reviewing any claims and issues of fraud on the part of people who are saying that they're providing technical assistance. But if something just doesn't feel right, or someone's trying to charge you something, or they're trying to get you to give them your social security information, your bank account information, all your children's information, to see if you would qualify, we definitely want to encourage you to contact us so that we can help you contact the Inspector General. Federation and other cooperators will be able to assist you with that. And finally, as promised, I wanted to be sure to highlight all of the ways that you can contact your federation. I know that there's some folks that are only listening, and that's why you've heard me spell things out or read things out for those of you who are able to see the PowerPoint presentation. So I am going to read these out for the benefit of those who are participating by phone and can't see the screen. But all of these slides and updated information and additional frequently asked questions that we get new or revised information about will be available on our website. But if you do want to reach out to the Federation to get an update or to get information on events that we might be hosting to provide financial assistance for applying for the Discrimination Financial Assistance Program, or you want to request assistance with applying for the Discrimination Financial Assistance Program, you can email us at 22007, D as in Delta, F as in Frank, A as in Alpha, P as in Paul. So 22007 DFAP at federation.coop. In addition, you can always call us at any of our offices, the one that corresponds with your location. Our administrative office here in East Point, you can reach us at 404-765-0991. You can contact the Alabama field office at 205-652-9676. The Mississippi field office is 601-944-0592. The Georgia field office down in Albany is 229-432-5799. The Louisiana field office is 318-704-2423. And our Texas field office is 713-634-7385. So I'm going to stop sharing. And with the time remaining, we're going to answer as many questions as possible, with the caveat that there may be questions that you have that we as cooperators, the Federation and other cooperators don't yet have answers to. So if there is a case where I say, I'm not sure, I can get that information to you, just know that there will be a page on our website where all of the questions that we've received about this application process will be located, and you will probably be able to find your question or a question very, very similar to it on our website. So now switching over to the Q&A. Hey, Dr. Cindy. She says hello from Footprint Farms. We have a question. Justine asks, do we know how they are calculating the amounts paid out? No. If we do get an answer or more information about that, we will update you all. But at this time, no, we do not know how they're going to calculate that. And part of that is, it seems that when they review all of the applications at the very end, that's when they're going to assign amounts to the different applications. So at this time, we do not have information about how that will be calculated. I see another question in the chat that says from Lucasta, what if you currently have a discrimination against the USDA now because of poor credit history with them, but you have evidence to prove why you were late? Also, what is the least amount you can get from 22007? So the least amount is $0 if your application is denied. I don't know what the lowest amount would be. As I said in response to the prior question, I'm not sure exactly how that math will be calculated. So it's not within my purview. I don't have access to the information to tell you what the smallest amount of financial assistance would be. But it sounds from your other question that you want to present other information to USDA to justify why you were late in applying for a loan. If that discrimination that you experienced occurred before January 1st, 2021, then this application program, this financial assistance program would be available to you. If that discrimination is something that is currently happening and started after January 1st, 2021, this would not be the appropriate way to explain that circumstance. And it sounds like you already have a pending claim with USDA, so that doesn't prevent you from filing an application for financial assistance under this program. But it does matter when that discrimination occurred. If that discrimination happened after January 1st, 2021, then no, you would not be eligible to file an application under this program. John Zippert answered, the amount you received will be based on the total applicants who apply. So if you divide 50,000 and 2 million is 40,000. If 100,000 apply, the average amount goes down to 20,000. The payment will also be based on the severity of the discrimination you experience, which supports giving detailed explanation and documentation of your history of discrimination. Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks so much, John, for answering that in the chat. Oh, and it's billion, not million. I see that that was updated by John there in the chat. Justine asks again, will the people reviewing be making notes about specific offices and personnel that might be listed as having recurring discriminatory practices? So if Joe is a farm loan manager and has 10 complaints, something has to be done. So this discrimination process is being administered by the Midtown Group. USDA is not making those final decisions, and I'm not aware that there will be any accountability under this program. This program is only providing individuals with financial assistance for discrimination that they experienced. I definitely hear your point about the need for an accountability mechanism for known discriminatory acts and actors, but this process does not have a mechanism to hold accountable local FSA offices or staff. So I have a question from our board chair, Shirley Blakely. Does the person have to submit an application for a loan and get denied, or could they have went into an office and denied the actual application for a loan? No, that your phone cut out, but no, you didn't miss that. That was not something that was discussed. That person can't, the person who is denied the loan before January 1st, 2021 can apply, and the person who went into the office but was not able to submit their application, they would have to submit a very compelling application. There'd have to be a lot of information that they share to explain the reason that they did not submit the application, and make sure that they can explain that it wasn't just that they changed their mind or they felt discouraged, but that the discrimination was the basis of them not applying for that loan. Almost every single scenario is going to turn on the facts of that situation. So it's going to really be specific to the facts and the details that that person is able to explain. But I will say that the focus of this program is to keep the farmers, ranchers, and forest land owners that are currently in production on their farm, ranch, and forest land. The priority is definitely towards keeping farmers farming, as opposed to someone who went to apply, didn't apply decided to pursue some other enterprise, some other industry, and has not tried to farm again since they applied in 1993. So just be aware that they can apply, but it's the strength of their application is going to come down to all of the facts and details that they can put into their application form. The next application, oh, I see, yeah. So there was a question, when do the applications go live? They already are. You can visit that website right now and find them available. Hey, Wayman. Wayman asked, do you have a sense as to how white farmers will impact the funds? I could only hypothesize. I don't have any personal knowledge. That's so lawyerly of me, but I don't have information as to how white farmers will impact the funds, other than to say that this program does not exclude white farmers from applying if they experience discrimination. So the question is, did the person experience discrimination? And it's possible that a white farmer could have a basis of discrimination, that they were discriminated against, and it's hard to make those projections of what that number would look like. But there is a possibility that there could be an impact in making each individual farmer financial assistance lower if many people apply for discrimination with various bases of discrimination. So maybe sexual orientation or religion or ethnicity, but I can't project on how much that will drive the numbers down. All that I can say is that anyone, regardless of race, can apply for this discrimination financial assistance program. And the more people that have multiple bases that they're claiming discrimination on will impact the recovery of each individual who receives financial assistance under this program. Someone asked, oh, he says asked and answered. Should I apply if I applied for one amount and was given less when someone with no experience got the full amount they applied for with no farming experience? That's going to turn on whether or not you think you were given less money because of discrimination. If you feel that you were given less money than someone else that you're aware of that had no experience, and you feel that the reason you were given less money was based on discrimination, then you are eligible to apply as long as that discrimination occurred before January 1st, 2021. Will I send the slides from today? The slides from today will be available on our website. I'm not sure that Communications plans to also send it out in an email, but it will be available on our website probably by the end of today. So those slides will be made available, and I'm not sure if they'll be sent out in an email blast, but they will be available online. I know we're going right over time. I want to try to squeeze in this last question that I see. And there was another person that was sending me personal messages, direct messages. If you would send me an email, send an email to the 22007 dfap@federation.coop. It seemed like you were putting a lot of personal details and identifying details. That's why I didn't feel comfortable reading it online in front of 90 people. So to that person who was sending me direct messages and I didn't read out your questions online because it had personal identifying information, you can send an email to 22007 dfap@federation.coop and we can talk to you about your situation. The last question that I have in the chat is there a list of documents that may help make your case, such as applications, loan approval by year per program, state docs based on the FSA office performance? This was not covered, Aaron. We are going to have a whole separate training just on accessing and submitting the application. So be on the lookout for emails about that training. This was not covered in this training because it's quite a bit of information that we want to provide you on applications. And I'm going to recognize Mr. John Zippert's hand.
Thank you, Dana. I just want to emphasize again that this is a different process than the lawsuit process, which you also emphasize. And so there is no minimum $50,000. Very important. No minimum $50,000. So the amount from, and I've participated, well, some of you on this call know me. I did between Pickford 1, Pickford 2, and women and Hispanic. I probably personally did 1,000 claims. So I know a little about this, and I've been on the calls with the new people, the administrators and all these people whose knowledge of USDA discrimination leaves something to be desired to me. But we'll see how they work out. But I wanted to emphasize again that what you are going to get depends upon the number of people applying. And that's why if you do the simple math, if 50,000 people apply into 2 billion, the average person would get 40,000, which is already less than the 50,000. Then if 100,000 people apply, the average goes down to 20,000. The other aspect of this is that they appear to suggest that, and I'm saying this is John Zipper, this is not the government. They appear to suggest that the severity of your discrimination and the amount of documentary evidence you have would increase the amount of money you get. So just to Shirley Blakely, I think we need to apply for those people who feel they were discriminated against, who wanted to farm, were discriminated against, never got an application, were told there was no money. Now, they went one time and they did that, let's file a claim for them. If they went 6 times, to me, they have a better claim. If they were cursed out when they went to the office, which I have had people tell me was the case, called them a dog, other things worse than that. You know, we got to put all that information in the appropriate place on the application. I also feel, and I put this in my comments, that once we as the invited cooperators to this process see what the universe of applications is, we may want to go back to Congress and say 2 billion is not enough. And you need to put more money into this, even if you put $1 billion a year for the next X number of years, and people get their, get their money based on that. So I guess there's a lot of implication to me in the question of how much money you are really going to get from this. So I just wanted to make those comments. And as you said, Sanya, they have not been totally forthcoming with us as to exactly what their process decision making on these applications is going to be, and we need to watch that closely. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Zipper. Thank you, thank you. I missed 2 questions. They were in a separate box. Tandalin, should I recognize you first or answer the questions?
I think if you recognize me very quickly, hey everyone, I'm Tandalin. I'm the Director of Communications and Member Relations. We've got a lot of moving parts today on this, and I think that you can expect to see the website updated, the advocacy page by Sunday at the latest, but I'm going to try to get it done later on this afternoon, but try Sunday.
Thanks, Dan. There is one question, because one you just addressed, but there is one question that I wanted to address because it's a strong one and I haven't yet seen it. And they asked if applying early will help catch errors, because there may be mistakes that are made. And in response to that, I would say, I would absolutely encourage everyone who seeks to apply to fill out their application completely to the best of their memory and ability, and then set it aside for maybe a day or a little while. Don't forget the deadline is October 31st, but I do think that when you review it with fresh eyes, you may catch errors. Like you might have said that it was in 1998, but it was actually 1997. I would not encourage submitting the application early for them to tell you about an error, because that's not going to happen, but it may be a good practice for you to complete the application fully to the best of your ability, set it aside for some time, review it with fresh eyes to see if there were any misrecollections or errors that you made in your attempt to complete the application. So very great question. Thank you all so very much for your attendance and participation. Tandalin, was there anything else that you wanted to add? I know you mentioned that the website will be updated by Sunday. You've been working on multiple resources over the course of the day, so they're going to be receiving more information from the Federation, but just know that the entire team here is doing everything that we can behind the scenes to make sure that we get you accurate and updated information. And we want to support you throughout the entire process. So we will have another workshop about accessing the application and going through the application in more detail. That may answer some of the questions about documents, etc. But thank you to all of you for being here and participating in this Federation Conversation Live.
So Dania, what I would like to say just is, if you're not on our listserv, if you're not following us on social media, because when updates are made, of course the website will be updated, then the listserv as well. And I don't know if you guys are as busy as maybe some of us, but sometimes you do need to be pinged multiple ways to ensure that you get it, because we're doing Dania did great presentation, but we're doing everything that we can to ensure that you get the financial assistance you deserve.
And our workshops will not just be online. I know that a person asked about that. We are actually coming out to the community. Our team is going to be in communities helping folks who want to assist others with the application, as well as helping folks complete the application. So definitely be on the lookout for that. This is not the last you'll hear from us on this topic. It's not the only way you'll hear from us on this topic. We will absolutely be out in communities helping folks throughout this process. So thank you so much for your time and attention, and I wish you all a wonderful weekend. Take care.